The security monitor flickered on. The room went completely still. A store manager with 15 years of experience, a man who had never once apologized to a customer in his career, slowly sank to his knees. 2 police officers stood behind him. His own staff stood in front of him. And a Muslim woman in a hijab had just pressed play. What was on that recording? Let's go back. The store was the kind of place that made people walk more carefully. Verlaine and Company on Fifth Avenue did not advertise. It did not need to. Its windows held 3 items at a time, never more, each one lit from above like a painting in a gallery. The marble floors were the color of fresh cream. The staff moved quietly and spoke in measured tones. Everything about the place said, "You are either welcome here, or you are not." Sara Malik knew exactly where she stood. She was 37 years old, a senior contracts attorney at a firm 12 blocks north, and she had been shopping at Verlaine and Company for 4 years. She knew the layout. She knew the staff. She had spent more money inside those cream-colored walls than she cared to calculate. She wore her burgundy silk hijab the way she wore everything, precisely, deliberately, without apology. Her navy blazer was pressed. Her leather bag was Italian. Her heels clicked on the marble with the rhythm of someone who was not in a hurry because she did not need to be. She was there to pick up a watch. A gift for her father's 70th birthday. She had called ahead. It was waiting at the counter. She never made it to the counter. His name was not important. What was important was the way he moved, across the floor with the particular speed of a man who has already decided something. He was 54, broad across the shoulders, with a face that had settled permanently into an expression of mild irritation. He had managed this store for 15 years. He had a system. He trusted his system. And his system, in this moment, was telling him something was wrong. He came to a stop directly in front of Sara. "Ma'am." His voice was flat. "I need you to come with me." Sara stopped. She looked at him. "I'm sorry. We've had a report." He crossed his arms. "I need to check your bag." The store went quiet in that particular way that stores go quiet, not silent, but somehow emptied of its usual texture. 2 customers near the jewelry counter looked up. A young sales associate near the window pretended not to hear. "A report," Sara said. Her voice had not changed. "What kind of report?" "Ma'am, I don't want to make a scene." He lowered his voice, which somehow made it worse. "If you'll just come with me to the back." "I won't," Sara said. He blinked. This was not what usually happened. "Ma'am, I am the manager of this store and I am asking you." "You are accusing me," Sara said. "Those are different things." She set her bag on the glass counter beside her. "You're welcome to call the police." In fact, she reached into her jacket pocket and produced her phone. "I'll call them for you." He stared at her. Something moved behind his eyes, not doubt, not yet. Something closer to recalculation. "That won't be necessary," he said. "I think it is," Sara said. And she dialed. The police arrived in 11 minutes. 2 officers. A man and a woman, both in NYPD blue, both with the practiced calm of people who had walked into a great many rooms and assessed a great many situations before deciding how to feel about them. The officer, broad-shouldered, mid-40s, a face that had stopped being surprised by things a long time ago, looked at the manager. Then at Sara. Then at the manager again. "Sir, you made the call?" "She did," the manager said, and something in his voice had shifted, a small but audible retreat. "There was a report of..." "What report?" the female officer asked. She was younger, her dark hair pulled back, a small notebook already in her hand. "From who?" The manager paused. It was a very short pause. But it was the wrong kind. "From a member of staff," he said. "Who observed?" Which member of staff? Sara asked. Another pause. I'd like to see the security footage, the male officer said. It was not a question. Do you have cameras covering this area? We do, the manager said. But I don't think. Let's take a look, the officer said. The room was small and dark and smelled faintly of coffee. 4 monitors on the wall. A rolling chair. A keyboard. The manager sat down. His fingers moved over the keyboard with the deliberate slowness of a man who is hoping, somewhere in the back of his mind, that the system might be down. That a file might be corrupted. That something, anything, might have failed to record. Nothing had failed to record. He pulled up the timestamp. He found the angle that covered the section of floor where Sara had been standing. He pressed play. The room watched. On the screen, Sara entered the frame at 11:04. She moved to the display case. She looked at the items in the case. She did not touch the glass. She did not open her bag. She did not reach for anything. She stood with her hands at her sides and her bag on her shoulder, doing exactly what a person does when they are looking at something they intend to buy. At 11:09, the manager entered the frame. He had not received a report. There was no member of staff who had flagged anything. The footage showed him crossing the floor with his arms already crossed, his eyes already fixed on the woman in the burgundy hijab. He had made his decision before he reached her. The footage made this very clear. The male officer straightened up slowly. The female officer stopped writing in her notebook. Sara said nothing. She did not need to. The manager's hands were still on the keyboard. He was looking at the screen. On the screen, a version of himself from 11 minutes ago was crossing a marble floor toward a woman who had done nothing wrong, absolutely certain that he was right. He pressed stop. The room was completely silent. What happened next was not dramatic in the way that dramatic things usually are. There was no shouting. There was no argument. There was simply a man in a gray suit, in a small dark room, who had just watched himself do something that could not be undone and could not be explained. He stood up from the chair. He turned to face Sara. And then, slowly, without anyone asking him to, without any instruction from the officers or any prompt from anyone in the room, he sank to his knees. His hands came together in front of him. "I am sorry," he said. His voice had lost its flatness entirely. What was left was something rawer and considerably smaller. I can't explain what I was thinking. I looked at you and I assumed," he stopped. "There is no excuse for what I assumed." Sara looked at him for a long moment. She did not look triumphant. She did not look vindicated. She looked, if anything, tired, the tiredness of someone who has had to do this before and will probably have to do it again and has not yet found a way to make peace with that fact. "Get up," she said quietly. He did. "I want 2 things," she said. "I want a written apology from this store. And I want you to look at every assumption you have made in the last 15 years and ask yourself how many of them looked like this." She picked up her bag. She looked at the officers. "I still need to pick up a watch," she said. "For my father's birthday." One of the officers, the younger woman, pressed her lips together in a way that was almost a smile. "We'll walk you out," she said. The watch was white gold with a cream face. 70 years old, her father said when he unwrapped it. Time goes faster every year. She did not tell him what had happened at the store. Not that day. But she thought about it on the subway home, about the 47 seconds of footage that had said everything that needed to be said, more clearly and more completely than any argument she could have made. She thought about the manager on his knees. She thought about the look on his face when the footage played, the specific expression of a person confronting, in real time, the distance between who they believe themselves to be and who the evidence shows them to be. It was not a comfortable thing to watch. She thought about how she had not raised her voice once. Not when he stopped her. Not when he implied what he implied. Not when two police officers walked into a room that smelled of coffee and watched a recording that made everything clear. Whoever is patient, Allah will make things easy for them. Her mother had said that to her when she was 12 years old. She had not always believed it. She believed it now. The subway moved through the dark. She held the watch box in her lap and thought about patience, about what it costs and what it returns, and by the time the train reached her stop, she had decided something. She would write the letter herself. Not to demand. Not to punish. Simply to say, I was here. I was seen. And the truth did not need my voice to speak.